go to Crunchbase or something like Crunchbase.com and put their name in there and find out how they're funded. Find out when they were last funded. Find out how many millions came in. And then ask someone at the company what the expectations of the investor are. So previously, we talked about how smaller companies are doing harder things right now by building on top of a platform. Now, there are multiple platforms, but we talked about how usually there's like an AWS or an Azure as a bottom layer, and then there's some sort of a platform on top. Most companies have been building on Salesforce, but there are others. And Veeva, the company that I work for, has one that's proprietary to us. And so there are platforms, and then there are companies that just basically pay for the licenses for all those others, and then they don't have to build a big portion of the software. They just use the platform, and what they focus on is the industry. So they just focus on the industry problems, and then they tackle some really big hard problems like artificial intelligence for a specific process, or maybe tying into multiple systems and creating a report that does that, or some sort of a predictive model, predictive analytics, that kind of thing. So over the last 5 or 6 years, friends of mine who work in technology or who wanted to work in technology have asked about how do you select a tech company? How do you go about this? And there's a couple things that I always tell them. Number one, find out how big they are. How many employees do they have? How stable are they? It's going to come down to financials. I don't know if a lot of people do this. It's a super simple thing to do. I do it every time I evaluate any company. Go to Crunchbase or something like Crunchbase.com and put their name in there and find out how they're funded. Find out when they were last funded. Find out how many millions came in. And then ask someone at the company what the expectations of the investor are. Are they going to sell in 2 to 3 years? That's very typical. Are they going to hold? Are they trying to go public? What is their intent? Find out how they're funded, because if you find out where the money came from and what those people want, you'll find out a lot more about the stability of the company. The other thing you can do is you can go to independent evaluators. You can ask someone, you're welcome to email me and ask me what I think of a company. Most of them I haven't heard of, to be perfectly honest with you. There's so many out there, but I'm happy to evaluate ones that I do or look into them myself. But also you can go to the third-party sources. You can go to Forrester and Gartner. Those ones, you just have to be aware that just because it's not on their quadrant or their wave, that doesn't necessarily mean anything about the company. You won't find the company I work for on a lot of waves, and yet it would be really hard to argue that the company that I work for isn't best of breed on a lot of things. So be aware that the independent third parties can be helpful, but they're not the end all. The last thing I'll say is go ahead and test the AE, the account executive, or the sales rep. Find out if they know your industry. Test them with a problem, a technical problem if you can find one. How did you solve this with another customer? Make them go back and get you an answer. Do a little bit of testing in that way. It'll be really easy to tell if you just test them a little bit. And I work with AEs all the time, and they're wonderful. Any of the ones that I work with, if you ever tested them, they'd come back and really win your trust. If they can't do that, then they're not focused enough on your industry and they don't understand tech well enough. It's probably not worth wasting time. But if they do, then go ahead, build that rapport with them, build that trust, and ask them questions about their funding. Do some of the stuff that I was suggesting in some of the earlier tips. See what they can find out about the company funding and see if they did their homework. I think that you'll be happy that you did. So next we're going to talk about how do you win consensus within your own organization. Which teams are going to need to be involved if you are going to make a software purchase. Of course, while I do work for Veeva, I'm just sharing my own opinions here. This is not me speaking on behalf of the company at all.